Have you ever sat down to play after a long day, telling yourself just an hour or two, and suddenly realized birds are chirping outside and it's already morning? Some games don't just engage you, they completely absorb you, devouring entire weekends without warning. From an open world still being played a decade after launch to a Western epic that lives with you long after the credits roll, these are the 10 games that steal hours of your life without warning. Let's get into it. You're looking at number 10, Grand Theft Auto 5. Rockstar's 2013 release with over 200 million copies sold. More than a decade after launch, GTA 5 is still being played daily by millions, which tells you everything about how addictive this game truly is. The genius of GTA 5 is how it disguises itself as a simple crime game and then traps you in Los Santos for hundreds of hours. You sit down to play one heist mission, and 3 hours later you're driving up a mountain to watch the sunset or chasing UFOs because someone online claimed they exist. The three protagonist structure between Michael, Franklin, and Trevor keeps the campaign constantly fresh. What makes GTA 5 a time thief is how alive Los Santos feels. Random events trigger constantly. Side activities like golf, tennis, yoga, and stock trading pull you off the main story. You'll do one mission, get distracted, drive into the countryside, and forget what you were doing entirely. The visuals still hold up in 2026. The atmosphere is unmatched. If you haven't lost hundreds of hours to Los Santos yet, you absolutely will. At number 9, Hogwarts Legacy. Avalanche Software's 2023 open-world RPG that became one of the best-selling games of that year with over 22 million copies sold. For Harry Potter fans, this isn't just a game. It's a dream come true. And even for non-Potterheads, it's one of the most addictive open worlds in recent memory. The game lets you create your own wizard or witch attending Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in the late 1800s. From the moment you step into the castle, the game starts stealing your time. You'll wander corridors for hours, sneak into honeydukes for sweets, fly a broomstick around the Forbidden Forest, learn spells, brew potions, tame magical creatures, and discover hidden secrets in every corner. What makes Hogwarts Legacy so dangerous is the sheer amount of fan service packed into every location. References to the books, movies, and older Harry Potter games are hidden everywhere. The customization system is incredible. Beyond the castle, the open world surrounding Hogsmeade is massive. Side quests, magical beast preserves, dungeon puzzles, and dozens of hidden activities pull you in constantly. You'll lose entire weekends to this game without warning. At number 8, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. CD Projekt Red's 2015 fantasy RPG that sold over 50 million copies and is widely considered one of the greatest games ever made. Even a decade after release, The Witcher 3 still ranks at the top of nearly every best RPG list, and the next-gen update added enough polish to make it look fresh in 2026. You play as Geralt of Rivia, a monster hunter searching for his adopted daughter Ciri across a war-torn open world. What sets this game apart is how every quest matters. Side contracts often turn into full story arcs with consequences that ripple across the entire campaign. Characters you meet briefly come back hours later in ways you never expected. The world is massive and packed with detail. Villain swamps, Novigrad's crowded streets, Skellige's stormy islands, and Toussaint's fairy tale landscapes all have completely different atmospheres. You'll get sidetracked constantly. One Witcher contract turns into a 4-hour political conspiracy. A simple delivery quest leads to an emotional family drama. Even Gwent, the card game built into the world, has eaten countless hours of players' lives. The DLC expansions, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, are easily as good as the base game. Together with the main story, you're looking at a 150 to 200 plus hours of content that never feels like filler. The Witcher 3 is one of those rare games where finishing it actually feels emotionally heavy. You spent so much time in this world that leaving feels real. and then the urge to start a new playthrough hits just to make different choices and see different endings. That's how this game steals hours without warning. At number 7, Red Dead Redemption 2. Rockstar Games' 2018 Western masterpiece that sold over 65 million copies and is widely considered one of the most cinematic and detailed open-world games ever created. RDR2 doesn't just steal your time, it makes you feel guilty about how much time you're losing. You play as Arthur Morgan, a member of the Van der Linde gang during the dying days of the American Wild West. What starts as a typical outlaw revenge story slowly transforms into one of the most emotionally devastating character studies in gaming history. By the end, you're not just playing Arthur, you're living with him, suffering with him, and feeling every choice he makes. The detail in this world is genuinely unmatched. Mud sticks to Arthur's boots, snow accumulates on his hat, animals leave actual tracks you can follow, and NPCs remember your interactions across hours of gameplay. You can spend hours just exploring without touching the main story. Hunt deer in the forest, play poker in a saloon, sit by a campfire and listen to your gang sing folk songs. The game refuses to rush you, and that patience is what makes it absorbing. Combat is grounded and weighty, but the real magic happens in quiet moments. Random encounters constantly pull you off the main path. A stranger needs help. A traveler asks for a ride. You stop to help, and 3 hours later, you've forgotten the original quest entirely. Even in 2026, no other open-world game comes close to what Rockstar achieved here. RDR2 is the kind of game you finish exhausted and emotionally drained, and immediately want to start over. At number 6, The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, Bethesda's 2011 fantasy epic that sold over 60 million copies and is somehow still being actively played in 2026. The fact that a 15-year-old game still dominates Twitch streams and YouTube content tells you exactly how dangerous Skyrim is to your free time. The setup is simple. You're the Dragonborn, a chosen hero in a fantasy world facing the return of ancient dragons. But the genius of Skyrim is that the main story is almost irrelevant. You'll spend hundreds of hours doing literally anything else. Joining the Thieves Guild, becoming a vampire lord, crafting your own enchanted gear, running an alchemy business, or the classic Skyrim experience, swearing you won't be a stealth archer this playthrough and then becoming a stealth archer anyway. Bethesda built a world that feels alive in ways most modern games still can't match. Caves hide ancient Nord tombs filled with traps and treasure. Cities have distinct cultures with their own politics. The countryside is dotted with random encounters, hidden quests, and shrines that reward exploration. You can interact with almost every object in the world, which creates a sense of freedom most RPGs only pretend to deliver. Mods take Skyrim to a completely different level. Want better graphics? There's a mod. Want a new questline rivaling Bethesda's writing? There's a mod. Want to add hundreds of new locations? There are mods for that too. The community has kept this game alive for over a decade, and it shows no signs of stopping. Skyrim isn't just a game. It's a lifestyle choice. Once you boot it up in 2026, you're not getting out for a while. At number 5, Elden Ring, From Software's 2022 open-world masterpiece that took everything from the Soul series and pushed it into a massive, demanding adventure. With over 25 million copies sold and dominating Game of the Year discussions for years, Elden Ring is the kind of game that genuinely changes how you think about gaming. Set in the lands between, the game drops you into a fractured fantasy realm with almost no explanation. Where you go, what you fight, what build you create, all of it is your choice. The freedom is enormous, but so is the difficulty. Every dodge matters. Every swing has consequences. Every boss fight feels like a brutal lesson you didn't ask for. What makes Elden Ring a time thief is the open world structure. If something feels impossible, you can leave, explore somewhere else, get stronger, and come back later. You'll see a glowing castle on the horizon, head toward it out of pure curiosity, and end up discovering an entire dungeon you weren't supposed to find for another 20 hours. The world is packed with hidden bosses, secret areas, optional dungeons, and storylines that have nothing to do with the main path. The 2024 Shadow of the Erdtree DLC added even more content, including some of the most challenging and creative encounters From Software has ever designed. Combined with the base game, you're looking at well over 100 hours of one of the most absorbing single-player experiences ever created. When Elden Ring hooks you, it doesn't let go. You'll lose entire weekends fighting one boss, only to finally beat it and immediately load up another area. The dawn always comes too fast. At number 4, Baldur's Gate 3, Larian Studios' 2023 RPG that swept Game of the Year and changed what players expect from the genre.
Game of the Year is Baldur's Gate 3.
With over 15 million copies sold in one of the most passionate communities in gaming, Baldur's Gate 3 is the kind of game that genuinely makes you rethink how you spend your free time. You start by creating a character, and even that can take hours. Then you're thrown into a fantasy adventure where your mind is being slowly taken over by a parasitic worm, and you have to find a cure before it transforms you completely. From there, the game opens into one of the most flexible RPG experiences ever made. Every decision matters. You can lie, charm, intimidate, or fight your way through nearly any situation. NPCs remember your choices. Companions form deep relationships with you based on how you treat them. Even small interactions, like whether you save a side character early on, can completely change story outcomes 50 hours later. The tactical turn-based combat is sharp, deep, and rewarding. Every battle becomes a puzzle where positioning, environmental hazards, and spell combos can flip impossible fights into victories. And the dice roll system means even routine actions carry suspense. What truly steals your time is how endless Baldur's Gate 3 feels. A first playthrough easily hits 100 to 200 hours. Multiple playthroughs reveal entire questlines you didn't even know existed. Different character backgrounds unlock unique dialogue. Different choices unlock different endings. For players who love deep RPG storytelling and freedom of choice, Baldur's Gate 3 is genuinely dangerous. Once it hooks you, your evenings are gone for weeks. At number 3, Resident Evil Requiem, Capcom's February 2026 release that brought the legendary Resident Evil franchise back with overwhelming force. Within just a few weeks, the game had already sold over 7 million copies, broken franchise sales records, and become one of the best-selling games of 2026. If a survival horror experience is going to steal your time without warning, this is the one. The story follows Grace Ashcroft, an FBI analyst pulled into a horrifying case connected to the Raccoon City incident. 8 years after her mother was murdered, Grace ends up assigned to the same location, and what unfolds is one of the tensest psychological horror experiences the franchise has ever delivered. And just when you think you know what kind of game you're playing, Leon S. Kennedy returns with his own action-focused sections, completely changing the pace. What makes Requiem an addictive time sink is the perspective system. You can switch between first person and third person at any time, which means players naturally end up doing multiple playthroughs to experience both styles. Grace's sections deliver slow, atmospheric dread similar to Resident Evil 7 and Village. Leon's sections lean into the kinetic gunplay of the Resident Evil 4 remake. It's basically 2 games in one. The atmosphere is incredible. Raccoon City returns in haunting detail, with environments paying tribute to classic locations while delivering brand new horror experiences. Lighting is oppressive, sound design is genuinely terrifying, and the facial expressions on characters are lifelike enough to be uncomfortable. Once you start Resident Evil Requiem, you don't stop. You'll tell yourself one more save, and then realize the sun is coming up. That's the power of this game. At number 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Sucker Punch Productions' 2020 samurai epic that transports you to feudal Japan during the Mongol invasion of 1274. After its PC release expanded the audience even further, Ghost of Tsushima has firmly established itself as one of the most visually stunning and emotionally satisfying open-world games ever made. You play as Jin Sakai, a samurai forced to abandon the warrior's code of honor to save his people from a brutal invasion. The story follows his transformation from honorable samurai to the legendary Ghost, a stealthy, ruthless fighter doing whatever it takes to free his homeland. The emotional weight builds beautifully across the campaign, and by the end, the choices Jin makes feel genuinely heavy. The combat is some of the best in any modern action game. Sword duels are slow, deliberate, and cinematic. Stances let you adapt to different enemy types. Standoffs at the start of combat allow you to execute multiple enemies before they can react. Every successful clash feels like a moment from a Kurosawa film. And speaking of cinema, the Kurosawa mode adds a black and white filter with film grain that makes the entire game look like a vintage samurai movie. It's one of the most stylish visual options ever included in a video game. But what truly steals time is the world itself. Tsushima is breathtaking. Wind-swept fields, autumn forests with red and gold leaves, misty mountain temples, and ancient Shinto shrines fill the map. You'll constantly stop just to take photos. The wind-guided exploration system replaces typical waypoints with natural cues. Even traveling between missions feels like meditation. If beauty and atmosphere are what pull you in, Ghost of Tsushima will absolutely consume your free time. And finishing our list at number 1, Stalker 2, Heart of Chornobyl, GSC Game World's long-awaited 2024 release that hit 1 million copies sold in just 48 hours and immediately became one of the most addictive survival shooters in recent memory. After more than a decade of waiting, fans finally got their sequel, and it absolutely lives up to the legacy. The setting returns you to the Chornobyl exclusion zone, a radioactive wasteland filled with anomalies, mutants, warring factions, and mysterious artifacts. You play as a Stalker, a scavenger trying to survive while uncovering the deeper secrets of what's happening at the heart of the zone. The atmosphere is genuinely some of the densest and most immersive in any modern game. What steals your time isn't the main story, it's everything around it. The A-Life 2.0 system simulates the entire zone in real time, meaning factions fight each other even when you're not watching. Mutants hunt other mutants. Stalkers loot ruins independently of your involvement. The world feels genuinely alive in ways most games don't even attempt. Survival mechanics force you to manage hunger, sleep, weapon condition, and radiation exposure. Anomalous emissions sweep across the map, killing anything caught outside. Every trip across the zone becomes a calculated gamble between rewards and risks. The tension never lets up. Combat is brutal and unforgiving. Ammo is scarce. Medkits are precious. Every encounter could be your last. The graphics push Unreal Engine 5 to its limits with stunning lighting, weather effects, and environmental detail. Stalker 2 isn't just a game, it's an obsession. Once you step into the zone, hours disappear without warning, and you'll keep coming back for more. That's our list. Which game stole the most hours from your life? Drop it in the comments. Smash that like button, subscribe for more gaming countdowns, and we'll see you next time.